Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Su. I'm here from Village Capital, and I'm going to share about blended capital. But before I do that, I did want to thank USAID. Chris, you mentioned partnership ninjas. In a former life, about 8-9 years ago, I was actually with GDA for a summer, and there's a whole bunch of us out here. I saw Verinda. So I don't know if we're ninja because we're not in the family anymore. Maybe we're like those rogue samurai on the outside, but we're still here and we still come to these events. So thank you for holding this and hosting us. I'm going to talk about, I guess, SDG 8. Is that right, Daniela? Which is about entrepreneurship. So Village Capital believes that venture capital is broken. And so what I mean by that is we believe that there are great entrepreneurs doing great work, innovating, making excellent scalable solutions all over the world. And we also believe there's a lot of investors who have capital that could be used to scale these innovations and these solutions, these business models. But the current way that venture capital works, these things don't meet up. The reason is because there's very high search costs. If you are a very early stage entrepreneur with a new solution that's pretty revolutionary, there's really no way for an investor to assess you. You have no sales data, you have no track record. The best you have is a pitch deck. And what this means is investors on their side have nothing much to go with except a few proxies like maybe, who introduced you? Are you in my network? Where did you go to school? Are we alumni friends? Or, it sounds bad, but, do you look like me? And that's sometimes how people make investments. So anyways, we believe there's a better way to do that. And we do that by something we call peer selection. We believe that entrepreneurs at the early stage where there's no data are actually the best equipped to figure out which of their peers are the most investable. And so we run programs where we specifically pick a problem, gather entrepreneurs around the table on that problem, train them together over an extended period of time. At the very end, we run a sort of peer ranking process whereby they actually tell us which of their businesses is the most investable. We believe that folks who are on the ground in the same market, in the same sector, dealing with the same challenges of getting a business off the ground are actually best equipped to tell us where to allocate our capital. And so we actually put our money where our mouths are, and we invest in automatically the top entrepreneurs that come out of these sessions. We've done this for the last 5 years. I think last count, 62 investments. I just came back from Nairobi. We're going to make 2 more over there. Over 90% survival rate compared to the benchmark, about 50% at the early stage. And we've seen in the last 5 years 9 early exits. And so as the lawyers always tell me, past performance is not an indicator of future something or other, but so far results are encouraging. Now, how do we do this? I think I wanted to just share with you 2 examples of blended capital. We don't do this kind of like Superman on our own. We actually do use a lot of help. So 2 examples. This first example is actually about the Village Capital affiliated fund. So where do our investment dollars come from? Well, without any help, they don't come from very many places because a lot of folks aren't willing to put up that kind of money for something that's pretty unorthodox. Here, take my money and give it to entrepreneurs and they'll allocate it. However, with our results and the support of the USAID partnering to accelerate entrepreneurship, or PACE program, they did something very interesting where they made a grant to our fund, not to be in the investment capital, but to bring down the management fee such that it was much more at a market level, 2%. And in that way, we actually just finished our last close last month and raised $15 million. And I would say most of that wouldn't have been possible without this grant. So that's an example of what I call blended capital. The PACE guys have a great saying where they say, we're trying to crowd in commercial capital as opposed to crowd it out with grants. And so this is one example of how we do that. The second example is actually through our individual programs. Each of those is run by ourselves, but we don't charge our entrepreneurs fees. We don't take equity from the entrepreneurs. These are very early stage startups. They don't really have the bandwidth to take that kind of burden on. So how do we run the programs if they're not paying for it? We have to figure out a way to find folks to help with the expenses. And so this is just one example. We work with partners who provide grant money to basically enable us not to have to charge entrepreneurs. And in this example, we just launched a program in Mexico City looking at the problem of financial inclusion. The partners we have are global fintech partner PayPal, as well as BlackRock and a local bank, Crédito Real, all banded together, put in the funds, and in that way, we are able, VilCap Investments, our fund, to invest in those companies after they come out of the program. We have a local investor who's also pre-committing capital to the winners of that program. And what we generally see, even after our capital goes in, which is generally only at $100,000, very small amounts, we generally see in the next 2 years about 15 to 20 to 1 leverage. So another sort of separate example on the programmatic side, how grants crowd in commercial capital that's seeking returns, debt or equity, versus crowding it out. So I'm being told I'm out of time, but if you are interested in solving problems with entrepreneurs or innovators who are local to the ground, know what's going on, or if you're interested in investing in those entrepreneurs in a way that provides returns, this is my email, Daniel Su, Village Capital. Thank you very much.